PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast here on the PLD Project Network. I am your host, PLD. With me, as always, my co-host, Matty Gunner. This week, we have no news to talk about. We just have a big deep dive into, I will come out and say it, some of the best storytelling Star Wars has ever seen. This might be the best since Empire, storytelling-wise. I don't know if it's the best Star Wars. That's an argument to have, but some of the best storytelling in Star Wars has seen for sure. And that's not to denigrate anything else, because I love all Star Wars. Everything has its place. Everything has its moments. Everything has its reasoning. I even put it on social media. I love the fact that we get something like Skeleton Crew, like a childlike adventure like Skeleton Crew, and we can go on to the next stories, and it's something as dark and gritty, as they say, as Andor. But we'll get into it. We're going to get into the whole deep dive of it. I'm here with Matty. Matty, how you doing, my friend? Oh, you're muted. I muted. I'm sorry. There you go. Try again.
He's muted me already before I've even started ranting about things. You can counteract your 2 points.
Yep.
Number one, this is the best storytelling I've ever seen. Hands down. These last 3 episodes, best storytelling I've ever seen in my life. And I've been alive for nearly 34 years. The second point is actually one that Ryan from Thank the Maker and Yellow Card fame raised, that I thought was actually a really salient point.
Okay.
The original trilogy wasn't exactly clean and sparkly, was it?
No.
Everything was grimy. You know, the training helmet, the Death Star.
Lived in. Very lived in.
I would imagine that watching Luke get electrocuted to near death by his father is, to a 6-year-old Matty and to a 6-year-old PLD, almost as traumatic to 33-year-old Matty and 900-year-old PLD of watching the Gorman massacre take place. Absolutely.
That's a great point to make. 100%.
It's all about, we talk about how Star Wars is a generational story.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first thing that I've seen that has not given me the nostalgic feel of taking me back to being 6 years old, being a child and seeing Star Wars for the first time. It's the first thing that's given me that same feeling as an adult, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's not a feeling of nostalgia of, oh my God, this takes me back to when I was a child. It gives me that same feeling of existential dread, the longing for hope that I do as a 33-year-old man, that I did as a 6-year-old seeing the prequels and seeing the OT for the first time.
Right.
So when people say that this is a generational story, they're absolutely right. And while I don't want all Star Wars to be like this, I don't want to give Tony Gilroy, even Tony Gilroy himself has said he doesn't want to take over from Kathleen Kennedy. He doesn't want the keys to the kingdom.
No.
It is important to have these stories because they are very relatable to real world issues that we're experiencing right now. And for everyone, I say everyone, it's one person really who's refusing to cover the show because it's a quote, not his Star Wars. Fucking grow up, man.
It's so funny to me because he'll say that, and I know other people have said that, and like other people say, like, I've had other people like argument, like Christian, the one I work for, Christian will say like, this is like, he doesn't understand why people don't say it's not like Star Wars, because he thinks this is the most Star Wars things have been. And I think he's thinking about like you just pitch in a way, because it gives him the same feeling that he had when he's a kid. And he is someone who's not exactly thrilled with Star Wars like that right now. He's an Andor guy. He's an Andor guy, and everything else is kind of like whatever, and that's fine. You know what? I understand that to a degree. I don't see it that way at all. I love the fact they get the childlike adventure stuff. And I honestly would argue back. I've actually tried to have the argument with them. I understand when people say this isn't Star Wars to them, on the sense of that it does not have the genuinely swaggering adventure vibe, humor thing that Star Wars, that whole mishmash of Star Wars soup. This is the least Star Wars soup surface level. Its message is pure Star Wars. Its messages are 100% pure Star Wars. But I understand if someone was like, I see The Mandalorian as Star Wars. As the most Star Wars thing Disney has done is Mandalorian, because it has that. There's definitely nostalgia attached to it, but there's definitely the pew pew stuff, and there's the fun adventure side of things. Even though there's serious stuff, The Mandalorian as well. There's no denigrating. You'll never hear me denigrating another Star Wars story. Never. Even if I don't love it, I'm never denigrating, because it works for some people, and that's great. So I understand what they mean to a degree, but I think that those people miss the point. People who say that they miss the point of how this is, messagely speaking, 100% George Lucas Star Wars.
George created a story. George wrote a story, then created the world around it. Dave Filoni, Bryce Dallas Howard, all these people, they tell the story within that world that George created, which is fine.
Absolutely fine.
Someone like Tony Gilroy has a lot that he wants to say. He has a story that he wants to tell. Like George, he has a story he wants to tell, and then he fits the world around it.
Right. Absolutely.
So there's two ways of looking at it. Both are just as valid as each other.
Right.
But to say, to completely disregard something, and not to not watch it because it's not for you, that's fine. If it's not for you, all good. But to completely disregard something as this isn't Star Wars because it's showing a couple of ugly truths that don't quite,
vibe with you,
vibe with you.
Yeah.
Just shows to me that you're not engaging with the thing that you claim to love so much.
Right. And I would argue, and I'll make the argument, a brief argument. It's not a strong argument from me, because I'm not going to push anybody. I don't want to push anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Like, that's not my thing.
No.
If you're saying that you're not watching Star Wars because it's too much, it's too serious, you talk about the ugly truths, all that stuff, you're probably the type of person who might benefit more from watching it a little bit, potentially, and facing those ugly truths. Otherwise, you're being kind of parentish to a degree. That's the kind of a parent thing to do, to be honest with you. And that's my calling out of somebody. I don't want to. I'm trying to be.
That's my job.
Cautious. Right. And hey,
that's what I don't get paid to do.
You're talking to someone who appreciates Parent and actually sees a lot of stuff in Parent that I actually like to see and wanted to see more of. We've had this argument.
We didn't see him
I know. I get it, and I get that from. I know you. I know why you don't. And I know, but I think it's important that those people. That's why, just like I think it's important to showcase the parents in the world, I would suggest to those people that are not watching it because they want the escapism thing, maybe be a little less, or be more season 2 parent. Start to face those uncomfortable truths a little bit more. That's my only preachy thing I'll say. But I will say that we have such a big galaxy that having a story like this, one real story like this, and I should actually draw that back, because quite frankly, the respect that Bad Batch doesn't get, because Bad Batch is probably a similar vibe to this. There's a little more, there's a little more childlike adventure in there. There's a little more humor in there, but Bad Batch tells a similarly dark political story. But to have that is as a important part of Star Wars. I wouldn't want every project to be Andor, like some people. Christian wants everything, wants Tony Gilroy to take over, wants everything to be Andor. I don't want that at all. I want my skeleton crew. I want my Ahsoka stuff. I want the animated series stuff. And I am looking so forward to Starfighter, because I think it's going to be a fun romp with Ryan Gosling as a pilot. And
it's probably going to be like, it makes me think of like what could be like Top Gun meets Flash Gordon.
Absolutely. That's going to be a blast. That's going to be exactly a blast. But I think it's important to have these stories as well. And I hope that we don't never get these stories again. I will say,
We will.
I am sad it's going to be over soon. And I do think if I had one criticism, like I have really grown to love the release structure here, the way they've done this, even though I had hesitations about it. At the same time, there's a part of me that really wishes, I know Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna came to this decision. I really would have loved to have seen 5 seasons of this. Like, I really think while the year jumps helped some narrative things, I think it could have, having that development over 5 seasons could have been even more powerful potentially.
Do you know why it's not?
Because they couldn't do it. They didn't
Do you
want to
listen?
do it.
Do you listen to the Script Notes podcast at all?
No, I don't.
Tony Gilroy was on that, and he said that it was the pandemic that kind of saved him about it, because he realized the scope of the story that they need to tell, and he realized, oh shit,
He was scared.
Yeah.
I remember reading that quote. I do remember reading that quote. He was scared to death about it. And Diego Luna was too. That's a big commitment to do in this day and age. Do streaming series like for 5 seasons. That's a big commitment. So I definitely
want Tony
that.
going and doing something with HBO or
Apple. I get that too. I'm just saying specifically, I kind of have these glimpses of what could have been. We could have gotten more of this and build up more to it. I'm very happy with what we got. I think this is some of the best television I've ever seen in my life.
This is the best television I've ever seen in my life.
I'm only saying that as like one of the, because it's so new and I want to avoid recency bias.
Oh no, I'm saying, like, did you see like on IMDb, like episode 8 is among the highest rated TV episodes of all time.
And I hope it stays there. I hope there's no review bombing for it. I hope. Because you never say. But I agree. I agree. I just say that as again, come back to me in a year.
You watched a lot more TV than I have.
Yeah. Come back to me in a year. I still say with no hesitation, one of the best. And I'll actually throw it out there that I think episode 9 is underrated comparatively. I think it should be talked about just as much as episode 8, to be honest with you. I think both these two are just as powerful in the same way. And I think 7 is a great piece of episode TV. And it's the only reason I'm going to score it less, and it's a spoiler alert for the
because
show,
it comes before 8 and 9.
Because it's not 8 and 9.
Hey, why is 6 afraid of 7? 7, 8, 9.
Exactly. It's just like it's that kind of thing. But so yeah, there's a lot that happened this week's episodes on many different levels, and there's a lot of ultimately praise been given pretty much universal outside of a few canon junkies. People like Alex Damon, who's a canon junkie, said it best. I mean, if you haven't watched his review, please stop us. We're not even anywhere near good. Alex Damon had his own Mon Mothma moment in that episode, in that review. So definitely go take a look at that. But he's a notorious canon junkie. He's like the canon junkie, canon timeline.
His whole thing is explaining Star Wars.
Canon timeline. Exactly. So
he does a multi-hour canon timeline a year, and it's all gone to naught. Well, not all of it, but like, imagine having to you do this and then something gets retconned, and then
fuck, make it work. And I'm the kind of guy who loves. I when I see something contradicts canon, I always try to explain it in my mind, and I figure out a way to make it work. I actually have fun doing it. So I don't know why people take it.
Here's the thing about that. You can do that because you have an imagination.
Yeah.
People these days have lost the thread of imagination in their mind. Like, everything has to be given to them. And I know I always go back to Hideo Kojima. The reason Metal Gear Solid 4 was created, ideologically the worst of the franchise. Everyone dogged on it. The reason that game got created was because everyone was begging for the answers to questions that didn't need to be answered.
Right. Yeah.
I prefer, and we're going to get into the whole thing, I prefer this version of how Cass met Katie.
Oh.
And I'm going to explain it when we get there.
Here, you know what? We're going to get there now. I want to talk about this canon now. I want to get the negative stuff out of the way. And
sure, let's do it.
It's minorly negative. Let's talk about the cast and KCS thing. All right. So there was a comic. If you don't know, if you're a casual fan or casual Star Wars person that's watching this, there was a one-shot. Actually, we're going to take it back even further. Disney bought Star Wars back in the day, 2012, whenever it was. At some point, they made a statement. They took out all the legends. They said the only things that were canon were the films and like the Clone Wars and Rebels Marvel started or Disney. I can either way. It was just the films and the canon animated series. Everything else is open to commentation, and everything else after that time jump, after that like specific point, books, comics, games, everything else was going to be canon, and they're going to stick to this canon storyline, make it all interconnected. Now we've had a couple of times over the course of the past decade and a half, 15 years, that like things have been tweaked. Some people got upset about. There was the Ahsoka novel that happened, and then Dave kind of retconned little bits and pieces of it, mostly representationally wise, and so that I can't argue with. The people upset about that.
Yeah, that I can't argue it, but that was Dave just being like, I didn't write the full story of the book. Let me do it how I would do it.
I think
that was a really bad Dave Filoni impression.
Yeah, that was pretty bad at this point. And I honestly think he had less time to do it, to tackle it in a 15-minute short than he did in a.
I mean, we talked about that last week when we talked about the Tales of. Like, don't do it with these main characters.
Absolutely. So we have that. Okay, but of course there was a one-shot comic book called Cassian and K2SO. I think it's the name of the book. I don't remember it necessarily. And it showcased
the title. Very imaginative.
Right. As Star Wars is. Star Wars Ahsoka, Star Wars Obi-Wan, Star Wars Andor. Not very imaginative titles, folks. That's what I was actually excited about Starfighter, because it actually was something. Even that is kind of name.
He's a guy flying a starfighter. That's not really imaginative.
At least it's not her name. I guess that's it. It's a step in the right direction.
Rogue Squadron. I wonder who that's going to be about.
Exactly. You got to get a little more better with their names, folks. Sequel trilogy had great names. But the actual everything else, not so much. Anyway, back to it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like, be more like Lord of the Rings.
Right. There you go. Good call.
The Return of the King. Oh, even though there is only one return and it ain't of the King, it is of the Jedi.
Okay, Randall.
I would have thought you would have liked the Kevin Smith.
I do. I just being why I love it. Kevin Smith. That's one of my favorite sequences in all of Kevin Smith's movies. I love Randall.
What if Kevin Smith a Star Wars project? Maybe that's an episode we can do one day. Pitch a Kevin Smith.
I would love that. I can't see why he wouldn't, or why he has.
Bring PJ on.
Yeah,
the three of us pitch some Kevin Smith
Star Wars projects.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway, go on. One shot.
Anyway, so the one shot Cassian and K2SO, which basically told the meeting of Cassian Andor and K2SO and how they became friends and how he met them in Rogue One. Okay, they completely. This is not about like tweaking things like Dave Filoni did to Ahsoka. He basically just threw it out the window, chucked it in the fireplace, and we're doing it our way. And they could care less, I think, which is kind of funny because Tony Gilroy had been very strongly a proponent of trying to match things up with canon. In fact, that's where the Gorman Massacre even came from. He is like excited about doing canon things. Like that was his idea. And so to say all that and then be like, throw that out. Maybe it's who knows? I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to denigrate everything he's saying about that because, quite frankly, I read the comic. I don't think we're missing much. Honestly, it was pretty forgettable. I mean, if you like the comic, hey, good for you. Your mom may vary. I honestly don't remember much except for that Cassian was on an Imperial starship. I think that's about all I remember.
And I do have to say, I put out a thing on Threads that went almost like semi-viral. Some people did check me and say, hey, it may not be important to you, but it could be to someone else.
100%.
That's 100% right. They were right to check me on it. That's fair.
Absolutely. However, and I also will throw out there, though, that like the fact is, it's not going anywhere. Like you can still read it.
Oh God, fucking thank you.
You can still read it. It's not anywhere. Like don't take such.
Doesn't invalidate that story,
right? And quite frankly, I would be surprised if someone comes up with a reading like example, Cassian Andor and Fest. They made that into that was a cover story. Maybe this is just a cover story. Maybe they didn't want to say that he came from Gorman. Who knows? They're afraid that Gorman would instigate programming changes back in. Who knows?
Well, like a lot of soldier.
Yeah, it could be. Also, here's Gorman. He's like, oh, I'm gonna start killing people. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it, though. Storytelling, though, is not a point A to point Z kind of thing anymore. Storytelling is a living, breathing document. It's like these things evolve, these things can change. And sometimes you get something, honestly, it's much better. And I know that's an opinion thing, that's subjective, but I honestly would be hard pressed if there's people out there that prefer the comic book version over the Andor version that was presented. Are they out there? I'm sure they are. And I'm not saying you're wrong or bad.
No.
I think for the most part, I think most people would be on my side on this. I think. Opinion.
I gotta say, most people were on my side when I put up my thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's where I was getting at. It's the people that allow something like, oh, that's not how Cassian met K2, or oh, that's not the speech Mon Mothma gave in Rebels. It's the people that will. Oh, we will get to that. You and I have already talked a little bit about it, but we will get to that. It's the people that allow that to take them out of something as powerful and meaningful as what we were shown as the story and the meaning, if that makes sense, because they allow parroted opinions from certain YouTubers that say, they were doing so well until they retcon the comic book that I only read one time and don't give a shit about. Like you allow small little things like that. And I get that some people, if it does genuinely disappoint you, fair play. If that Mon Mothma speech was something you were genuinely looking forward to watching in Rebels, seeing it in live action, fair play.
Right.
I will hold my hands up and say, okay.
Right, absolutely.
But if you are just for the sake of a nitpick, allowing yourself to be pulled away from the messaging, the very real world relevant messaging that we at this point in time, in this timeline that we live in, people really need to take on board, and you allow yourself to be taken out of it because it doesn't check a box on your stupid canon checklist. You need to, as I said, recalibrate your priorities.
Recalibrate your priorities. Yes, I like I liked that. I saw what you were putting down there, and I loved it. Appreciate that. I will also say that when you have a universe that is ever expanding, especially the size of the Star Wars is starting to get, that it's almost impossible not to have some things changed over the course of time. And if it's changing it for the better, sometimes you can say, I have a better way to do that. It's okay to retcon some bits and pieces of it over time. This is not like a 3-movie thing and something was retconned from 3 movies. This is like a living, breathing. We have so many 11 films.
I mean, it was almost like it was 3 movies long.
Right. This week was 3 movies long, for Christ's sake. Or this show, this season has been 3 movies so far. We got one more coming, thank God. But there's a lot to be said about that, but I prefer this one, and I'm glad it happened. And I'll just end that part and say, hey, if you like the comic and you don't like that, I can't say anything against that. But I don't think you should blacklist the show or like cancel the show or like be that upset. Like, don't spite an amazing piece of television because of one smaller bit of retconning at this point.
And not even to your point about it being television, like if you, and I said this and I'll just repeat it here, if you listen to that speech,
right,
you really, really listened to the words that were being used, because Genevieve O'Reilly requested that Tony Gilroy.
Can I interject first?
Yeah,
Can I interject first? Okay, before we get into the speech, I want to talk about the speech more specifically. I want to make things clear. So, like I talked about this on air, that we our off-air conversation, because I think it's important that we're at least all on the same page before we break it down. Just so we know, the big speech, Mon Mothma made a big speech in episode 9, which was episode 9, where she is calling out Palpatine and she's leaving the Senate and she goes off to basically lead the rebellion on more of a ground level, more on the boots level kind of thing. This, if you did not know, matches up with an episode in Rebels, episode 18 in season 3 called Secret Cargo, where the Ghost crew basically take Mon Mothma. She's met in space, by the way, her shuttle is met in space, and they take her to Yavin. And there is a speech that Mon Mothma makes in Andor. There's a speech at the end of Rebels on the Ghost.
The Declaration of Rebellion.
The Declaration of Rebellion, where all the rebellion, the various cells of the rebellion come together as one rebel alliance. And there's also, and that's not the one people are upset about missing, I think, because I think that was pretty damn clear that the speech in the Senate and the speech at the end were different. Those are 2 different speeches.
Draven even says when Cassian lands, we need her to make a speech to correct the narrative. Do you want to watch it in my office?
Right. The problem people are having, so we're all on the same page, or at least we know what the problem is earlier in that episode, there is a scene of Ezra Bridger, Hera, and Zeb, I believe, the three of them. I should know because I actually watched the episode right after. After episode 9, I turned on Rebels right away. The three of them are watching like the holo feed of Mon Mothma's speech from the Senate, and it's a different dialogue. It's different lines of dialogue being said. Now, canon junkie people got a little up in arms over this, and I will say, before we go into the why it doesn't matter, I'll go into the reasons why if you make it matter in your head, this is what it works. I think there were 3 speeches. I think there's a speech to the Senate. I think there's a speech on the way to the Ghost that was more of a like making a comment to because the journalists were there watching the speech before it got shut down. And so afterwards, I think this is more of a statement to the wider space about what happened. And then the third speech is its own speech. I think 3 speeches were made. That's how I do it in my head. Even if at the end of the day, even if you tell me or Dave Filoni comes out and says, yeah, that was the speech, they're supposed to be the same speech, that's fine. I make it in my own head. Now, therein lies a difference. She's also got different haircut and different clothes being worn. People got a lot up in arms over that stuff. But I will say, having watched episode 9 into Rebels, despite the absolutely completely different tones of the show, completely different. Like Rebels is one of the most childlike adventures, and by season 3, it's definitely darker, absolutely, but it's definitely one of those kind of like originally trilogy adventure swinging vibes that children grew up with. Like people could watch this with their kids and no problem. So much different in tone than Andor, and yet story, feeling, messaging mapped up pretty damn well, and I felt similarly. I didn't feel like it was like that different. Sure, there's a few more wisecracks and a few more later, as a little bit later in tone. Otherwise, though, it matched up perfectly. I was so happy about that.
And there's also the point that I raised to you off air that both of us we I think one thing, you think another, which is fine.
Yeah,
the Senate building was shut down. The Gorman speech didn't get to the outside world because the communications were shut down. The Senate building was seemingly, I'm going to say seemingly because I don't want to invalidate your thoughts or your point. The Senate building was seemingly shut down to the outside world of Coruscant. They didn't want Mon Mothma to have the floor. They were pissed off when Bail gave the floor to her. So they probably just limited from what I gathered, they limited the broadcast to inside the Senate building. PLD believes that
I believe otherwise, and I'll make my quick argument.
You believe it got out there?
It got out there because to me, I think they wouldn't be as concerned about just getting the Senate. If it was just in the Senate building, I don't think they would have cared as much because it was getting out there to the general public. That's why they got pissed and everything else. I think that was the whole reason of shut it down. If it was just in the Senate building, they would have been like, whatever, just let her go and we'll take her out afterwards.
Were they with other senators in the building that could rise up?
It was already done. I think at that point it was more about the public. They could confine it, and if it was just in the Senate building, that's my thought.
But regardless.
Yep.
We get on to my point.
Yes, let's go. This is the most important point, by the way, just so you know.
If you listened to the speech, the one in Andor, the one that Mon Mothma gave in Andor, the one that Genevieve O'Reilly requested Tony Gilroy write for her. Because if you guys have watched I've been watching the Andor Declassified show.
Me too.
Please start doing those for every show that comes out now, because those are great. Genevieve O'Reilly requested Tony Gilroy write this for her.
Right. Well, let me interject real quick. The initial idea was to actually match up with the speech a little bit and to
they felt constrained by it.
They were gonna what they read is they were actually, the initial plan was they were gonna cut away, so we weren't gonna hear the whole speech. It was gonna be like cut away, and then we'd cut back to her talking, cut away, cut back to her talking. And the idea being the speech that was shown on Rebels, that when the Ezra saw it and everything else, supposedly, that was what was in the non-heard parts in Andor kind of thing. That was the way to kind of massage it. But then Genevieve O'Reilly, I am absolutely thrilled they didn't. So because Genevieve O'Reilly wanted to do the whole speech, and fuck yeah, she got her moment that I've been dying for her to have. She had her Luthen saw Kino Loy moment that I knew she could have, and Go ahead. I will talk more about that part of it. Go ahead. You're. I don't want to get too far away from your original point. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Go ahead.
If you listened to the words that were said, listen to this speech, and I mean genuinely listened, you would have taken on a lot more than just that was in the speech that she said it, rebels. Like, you are completely missing the point. You are hearing, you are not listening. You are just hearing the words, but you are not taking them on board. You are not engaging with what the art and the thing that you claim to love so much is trying to tell you. Tony Gilroy and Genevieve O'Reilly had more balls to say a word that politicians and corporation owners wouldn't dare say in public now.
Mhm.
The word genocide, such a powerful word that often today gets completely washed under the rug because people are too afraid to say it.
Yeah.
They talk about how governments have a hold on truth, and that truth was broken when the Gorman massacre happened. That it's the governments and the bureaucrats that are trying to control this truth and manipulate what we perceive to be a reality to fit their agenda, be it of, and this is completely my words, I don't represent PLD or the channel, gay people, trans people, people of color, people from working class or lower class, be that any oppressed people. And you chose, rather than take that away from the speech that was given, you chose to take away, oh, this doesn't fit my narrative. This doesn't fit my canon. This doesn't fit my story. You are exemplifying the point of this doesn't fit my narrative. This doesn't fit the story that I perceive to be true. No. There are harsh realities that you are refusing to face. Maybe you have your own personal reasons for that. But let me tell you, like Cassian Andor, there is going to come a day where your little bubble, your little world that you have crafted for yourself is going to come crashing down around you. And then you are going to have to make a choice as to what side you're on. Because that's the whole thing of Star Wars. It's been the story from the beginning. So again, and I'm being as calm as I possibly can, because I don't want to come off as raging and ranting, because I feel like it may take away from my point, and I want you guys to listening to really hear this. These people that are online, on YouTube, on social media, telling you that this show sucks because the speech was different to the one used in a different show. Like PLD said, you can still go back and listen to that speech if you want to. It's still there. This doesn't invalidate it. If anything, this strengthens it because it's reinforcing the point, and you are just choosing blindly not to see it. And again, I say recalibrate your priorities, because this is a very, very fucking real world show. This is a very fucking real world speech. There's people out there right now in other countries that innocent people, innocent children are getting bombed, their homes destroyed, and no help is coming for them. Like the Gorman, the end speech of episode 8.
Adrena.
It's so tragic that they think that someone's going to come and help them,
right?
When there's no one. They said, well, is there no one? The Empire shut off all communication.
Right.
The same way big corporate news companies out there, Fox, even CNN, on both sides of the spectrum, fit a narrative that they want you to believe, and you're not willing to look at what is going on in the world because you are so afraid that it doesn't fit the narrative that you are being told, whether that be to protect relationships, protect your way of life that you have been solely raised to believe. I've have many friends who ideologically oppose things that I do because they just don't know any other way, and people will refuse to open their eyes and, most importantly, open their ears to listen to other perspectives. It's so tragic that the day is gone where people are so unwilling to take in a different point of view and be like, maybe I was wrong.
Right.
They will so staunchly defend these narratives.
Yeah.
And die on that hill without thinking, maybe I was wrong, or maybe there's a different, things don't have to be black and white. Maybe they can just be like, hey, maybe I need to look at things a different way. But with this speech is point blank telling you, looking the people that are watching this show in the eyes and saying, hey, don't let people of higher power, be it government, news, corporations, whatever, Lord Elon, whoever, do not allow them to manipulate what is fact, what is reality, for their own sick, twisted, fucked up agendas.
Agreed.
And for people to take that, hear that, and the first thing they go is, fuck this show. This doesn't fit with my narrative. This doesn't fit with my canon. Fuck, man. You need your fucking head checked.
Agreed. And like, I'm going to pull back a little bit more about what I find amusing is I mentioned how well I thought they matched up vibe-wise anyway. For years, and I'm talking years, we've had the films or whatever, and we've had novelizations, and we even had like junior novelizations, young reader adaptations, all the way down the line. There are young reader adaptations of like Return of the Jedi. They are not word for word. They are aimed more for a younger audience. Rebels is aimed for a younger audience. I'm sorry, it's true. I don't want to say like that's like the thing is like Andor is definitely the most adult oriented Star Wars show there is out there for sure. Rebels, I'm not saying you have to be a kid to enjoy it. I'm a almost 50-year-old man. I love it. Like I'm 900 years old. I'm 900 years old and I still love it. And the thing is, I do love it because there's adult stories being told in each one, but it's still aimed for a younger format in a way. And that's all it is. They change things and adaptations like that. And I don't think anyone's ever thrown a shit fit about the Golden Age reader. That's a different line of dialogue that was in Return of the Jedi. That says in the you know what I mean? Like, and I know that's the extreme example, but it's not as far off as you think. The junior novelizations are rather aimed. I mean, Young Rebels is probably considered like a more of a young adult novel version of Star Wars, to be completely honest with you. If they have a young adult version versus the adult version, there's slight tweaks, and it's always been the case. So it doesn't change anything at all because what's important is the messaging. And quite frankly, Genevieve, and I'm going to turn this into a positive now, and I'm even skipping.
Before you go, can I just get one last thing out?
Sure.
We live in a world right now where people's rights are being taken away, where our very perspective of truth is being manipulated by people with vicious and evil agendas, be it whoever. You can put whatever ugly face to that description, whatever you want. My thing is, if you listen to those words and you don't take that on board because it doesn't fit a checklist in your brain, and you go on YouTube, especially to those people who are going on YouTube and pushing that this show isn't worth the page it's written on because it changed a couple things on a canon checklist. Fuck you. Just
quite frankly,
do better.
Just
Do
to
better.
linking it back to the analogy that I just made, the only difference is that the young adult version came out first, and the adult version came out second. So the adult version just instead of like younging it down, maybe changing a little bit, they tweaked it out to be more in tone with the adult grounded level show.
I want to see if I can find this one douche that left the comment on my post. Red.PMC. One was a cartoon for young children on Disney XD, and the other is for grown-ups. The kids' version of the Bible words things differently from the adult version, I'm sure. It would have been cool if the speech in Rebels, which we only got the couple lines, This isn't the case, however. This was infinitely better and was not worth dumbing down to a child's version. Listen, buddy. I know some kids that are more in tune. My niece is more in tune with the world than one of you. From the conversations I've had with my 15, 16-year-old niece, is more in tune with the way of the world than a dumbass fucking comment like that. Truly wonderful the mind of a child is.
100%. I agree with that. Absolutely.
If you love this show, if you love Star Wars that much, you don't need to talk about how things need to be dumbed down to a childish level.
I agree.
Because these stories, it's like you eloquently put, the adult novels and everything did it first.
Absolutely. So it is what it is. But I will go now and say I am so glad that Genevieve O'Reilly did talk Tony Gilroy into doing the entire speech and to getting her moment, because I have been pushing for her to get an Emmy since season 1, and this has just been her shining moment. She's had shining moments all season, honestly, but this moment was that moment, and it it lived up to the hype. It did not fail to impress. And yes, it is my favorite line of dialogue in the week. That's my spoiler. As we get into our categories, we usually do these things by categories, and we'll get to our categories.
It was on Thank the Maker last night as well too, so you're not the only one in that one.
That is definitively.
Luckily, I picked another one because I knew you would pick it.
I will not subject you or my listeners to a Mon Mothma impression. I did do it for Luthen. I did do it for Luthen at Keto Loy when I did their speeches. I can't do this one. I don't have the balls that she has, honestly, to do it.
I could do it because the accent that she uses is fairly similar to mine. Closer. I'm not going to.
But man, what I loved about it, and I'll say it right now, and then we'll get into the rest of the categories and everything else. We'll go back. I loved so much that because it is a grounded show, it is a intense thing. There's the fantasy things to Star Wars, and then there's the grounded side of Star Wars. What was the most harrowing thing of the thing? You mentioned genocide as one of them, absolutely. The truth being one of them. But then the ending, it almost seems like if you just say it, it's like the ending is the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we've helped create, the monster will come for us all soon enough.
Elon Musk, Emperor Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine. And then they cut it off. And it's like, so her naming Palpatine in that Senate speech was so powerful that I think sometimes if you weren't vibing with the show, the tone of the show, you might not understand why that was so important. Fantasy wise, it doesn't sound as important. It's like, oh, so she just called out Palpatine. No. But in this focal point of this world and this storytelling, that is absolutely huge.
You mean kind of like how a certain administration is currently seeking to have lawyers disbarred for representing the opposing electorate choice? Gee, wonder where we saw that. Where I saw that.
So just extremely powerful, extremely just deliberate, and the build was. I loved how it began so quietly. Although part of me being tense because they're trying to shut it down immediately. Mm-hmm. The one of the ISB guy was like, shut it down, and she's starting out first, fellow senators, friends and colleagues, and I'm part of get to it, Mon. You have a limited time here, Mon. A limited time here. But that's partly because I was so tense. I knew this was coming, but the whole episode I was so tense waiting for it. And Bail Organa doing his thing and finding. I love the fact that called back to Clone Wars, by the way. The idea of you always can work some magic on the floor. You know what you're doing. Find a way, because he at the beginning of the episode he's like, I'm never gonna let you on the floor. You've done magic before, make it happen. And he found this Imperial code, and that I love that he stresses. Empire code. The Empire said this is an emergency. They've said it 7 times as an emergency, so I guess this is an emergency. So I can use this now. And it's like, oh, Bale, you rock star. And
Can we quickly talk about how Benjamin Bratt fucking crushed it?
Oh yes, absolutely.
It's a different kind of swagger than Jimmy Smith. Like he came on and he was just so like cool. Jimmy Smith comes on screen, he's like big, he's huge.
Right.
You're like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah. Benjamin Bratt, I said last week, if you had to recast Jimmy Smith, and I would love to have seen Jimmy Smith continue. It's not like I'm happy that he's not.
He might come back
again. Huh? Yeah, maybe he will when he can. I'm not saying like I'm happy he's not in Andor, but if you're going to recast him, Benjamin Bratt was a great choice by Kathleen Kennedy, and and he did a wonderful job this week as well. Just perfectly let go with it. But I love that he gets it going and then he gets mounted to speech. And then that whole moment was building up for him. Like, holy shit. And that speech just begins so like light. I'm like, okay, come on, get to it. And she builds that thing. It was a masterclass performance, a masterclass of like, boom. Like the one key moment that started like really amping up, she used her hands, and I liked it even more. Every time I watch it, I like it even more. She goes, the distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss, and it just keeps going on. And then the Goran Plaza part, and I'm getting chills. I'm really getting chills right now. You're thinking about it again. Like it was so well delivered and so powerful. Thank you, Genevieve, Tony, Dan, everybody else. It was brilliant, and I'm so lived up to the hype. And I've been looking forward to this since Andor season 1. I knew this was coming at some point, and I just couldn't wait to see it.
And you know what? We still got 3 movies left to go.
I know, the 3-episode arc at the end. I don't even know. And I already told my son this because my son watched it. My son, by the way, doesn't love live action stuff and in general. Watch it started with me. He actually watched this one back on his own without he loved this one so much. Like, this is the best television I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, I got it. We both said that like we have to go into next week. I'm going, all right, there is no way that the last 3 episodes are gonna come close to this. Like there's gonna be a little bit of a letdown, I think. Just a small bit.
We say that.
I know.
We thought the same about last week.
Well, no, because I've been looking forward to this particular arc since season 1. Pretty much, I knew this was coming.
No, now we got K2.
No, it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to have. And so I'm not saying they're gonna be bad episodes. I don't think 7 is a bad episode. I'm saying like comparatively, it's gonna be hard to match 2 of the best episodes I've ever seen in my life, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't expect it to reach that level. I expect it to be very good, like the rest of Andor season 2, like a 9. Like I gotta prepare myself. That's not gonna be.
You think it's gonna be the Mission Impossible 2 of the
franchise? No, I don't think that's the case.
It's gonna be a 9 in a sea of 10s.
That's bad. I think it's even better than that. It'll be Mission Impossible 1 and a sea of Mission Impossible 3.
Mission Impossible 1's a 10. What are you talking about?
I think maybe Mission Impossible 1's a 10, and then Mission Impossible 3 through 7 are like 11s.
That's true. You do like to go up to 11. But anyway, that's for MID Classified.
Anyway, regardless, so we do have 3 more to go. I'm looking forward to them. I have a hard time thinking they can match the intensity of these.
We get 3 more.
I know. I'm so excited. That's why I want more. I think that's part of my reason I talked about earlier. I want more. I want even more and more and more.
My fucking heart, dude. Like, I'm so thankful for this show because every week I've had something to bring to therapy.
That's fair.
I watch the episodes Wednesday morning, and I have therapy at 1 p.m. every Wednesday. So I have like a fresh batch of trauma to help me fucking get through therapy. So Tony Gilroy, I will be sending you my therapy bill.
Fair enough. All right, let's get into it. We're 49 minutes in and we haven't even touched the categories yet. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
I do some good ones.
But let's just say that was a really good discussion that we just had.
100%. I think so. I think it was a very, very strong discussion, and I hope everybody followed along, and I hope everybody got to see both sides of got to see their side of the story, and let them come down on where they come down, basically.
If you didn't,
That's fine.
We can't help you if you didn't.
Anyway, all right. So if you haven't been to the show before, welcome. It's 49 minutes in. We do things that we could talk about our episodes. We usually break them down to categories
Didn't
first,
you do
then
this
do a
at the
wrap
start
up.
of the episode?
I did. This is how far we're into
I
it.
thought you did.
I did. So we do things by categories. I do usually do at the beginning of the episode. I usually do this speech at like 5 minutes in. A little late this time. We break them by category, and then we wrap things up afterwards. Anything else we miss when it's not talked about via the category we're talking about. So we're going to get into it right away. We always have one category that starts off that we have adjusted. We usually have Hondo Watch 2025. That is because Hondo Onaka is the patron saint of this channel. He is our idol. We want to see when he's going to be coming back to Star Wars, any way, shape, or form, live action, animated, or whatever.
I love how we're both putting our hands on our hearts when we mention Hondo.
We are. We did suspend Hondo Watch for this season of Andor because we kind of made the acknowledgement that Hondo doesn't really fit the vibe of the show, and we would not see Hondo here. Watch him surprise us completely being the last arc.
Hey, I would have taken it. I would have taken a little bit of Hondo humor over this one. Because I'll be honest, I struggled finding some humor in this one.
That's why I think that's why I think about next week also might be a little bit of a kind of a breath of fresh air, like it'll be intensity, but I think there's going to be some more K2SO stuff, Hondo type stuff. Because we have like that we need to because we were so broken after this one, we're going to need to come back from that a little bit. We did change it though for Andor, we changed it to Mosquatch because we thought that Linus Moss was a very up our alley kind of character. Our glove shadow, we were trying to make a patron saint of Andor at least. It was going to be in season 2 at all. We didn't think he would be. He has said he wasn't going to be, but we were hoping he's going to be lying. And so far he's not lying. He did not appear. Although quite frankly, I thought for a brief second he was in those troopers that were coming on Gorman. I thought he was one of the troopers.
Bro, that would have been fucking perfect.
Right?
They're lining up those idiots.
Right? The ones who go into the crowd and everything else. And he was the one
Mosk is one of them.
And Mosk is the one who either got mocked, either the leader of them or
Mosk is the one that got shot.
Or the one that got shot. I almost that would have been so it almost would have been. I understand why I didn't do it because it's almost like you don't want to upset and he added any kind of humor. He was a humorous character a little bit.
No. Let's play what would Ed Harris play real quick.
Oh.
But with Mosk. If Mosk was the trooper that got shot and Cyril was the one and Cyril saw it happen.
Oh, interesting.
And he did nothing to protect the guy who protected him.
Right.
And helped him rise through the ranks.
Oh, interesting.
I wonder how that would have gone.
Interesting. That could have been cool. I'm not going to lie.
And we would have got to watch. We would have seen Mosk, and we would have got to watch a Nazi die, which
is always a good thing.
Win.
All right. So he didn't appear, though. He probably won't appear at the end one, but we'll go back to Hondo Watch for.
I don't know this. He could come back with Dewey and Freedy and join the rebellion. In honor of his friend Cyril, he would join the rebellion.
I'm going to let you think that. I'm going to let you have it.
He's not.
I'm going to let you have it. All right. Let's talk about our next category.
More for you than me. You're more of the Musk fan than me.
Anyway, let's talk about the next category. It's our favorite character of the week. Now, generally, these are, like I said, we usually do these episode categories, and we're usually only covering one episode at a time with Andor specific unique storytelling structure or release structure, I should say. We are going to cover all 3 episodes as one story, so to speak. So our favorite character of the week could be over all 3 episodes. I got a couple of them to talk about. Usually we go a little expansive because of that, because there's 3 of them. So we would have more than one. I'll let you start with yours, though, there, Matty. Who do you want to highlight first?
The man whose name is on the tin. Cassian.
You said talking about me. I'm like, wait, me?
My character of the week is PLD.
Wow,
now,
all right.
My character of the week is Cassian because he has tried to get out of this so many times.
Mm-hmm.
He's tried to leave. He's tried to quit so many times. And I'm going to get more into that later on. Mm-hmm. But the fact that because he knows what's right, he always turns around. He was going to leave the Palo Plaza. He was on his way out.
Mm-hmm.
Something in him turned him back around.
Turn around.
Every now and again, I get a bit dead.
Still dead.
But it spoke to what Luthen was saying was when Cassie said, I make my own decisions, and Luthen said, is that what you think? I've been thinking about that. You appeared when I needed you. Aldani, Narkina, all of that. I'm not saying that Luthen's a force sensitive. Everyone in the galaxy is force sensitive. Go watch Scotty Jarrett's panel. He'll explain it better than I ever could. But it's the fact that Cassian has tried so many times to turn around and just go. But there's something in him that just pulls him back into the fight.
I want to put a pin in that from my side of things, as it's going to go into something that I want to talk about.
If it's going to go into your Force Vision, and Luthen's a fucking member of the Jedi Council from like 10 billion years ago.
No, it's not actually.
Your tinfoil crackpot theory.
Crackpot theories that I love. No, that's actually not it. Although you said that, I'll throw it out here real quick because it's not serious enough to be a Force Vision, but I wouldn't be shocked if we found out that he was a Padawan of somebody back in the day, that he is that he had some Jedi stuff at some point going on. I would be surprised. The fact that we don't
Avaros.
The fact that we don't get revealed is great. I think it's great we don't have it revealed at this point, unless it gets revealed in the last three. I guess it could be revealed in the last three, maybe. But because I almost had a feeling like this is going to be Luthen's arc, like the last three. I kind of feel like that for some reason.
He's got to die.
I think so. And I think this is it because I think Mon's arc is genuinely, for the most part, ended with this episode. Although, where is Perrin? Is he safe? Is he?
Hopefully not.
I wouldn't be surprised with that. We get Mon.
I hope not.
We might get Perrin back at some point for the last three, because that's kind of one of the questions. Like, she left, so what happened to her family now at this point? We don't know.
Who cares? Her daughter's a brat, and her husband's a piece of shit.
I would like to know, and I think Perrin has the potential to be a better person. So I want to know where Perrin is. And I would be surprised if we didn't, because that's actually another thing. She left him behind, and she had genuine feeling for them. So it's interesting to see where, from her angle, she's cutting him off. Either way, I think that's Mon's arc. I think we have Cassian's arc is pretty much, honestly, the funny thing is, even though it's his name in the tin, what happens at the end, which we'll talk about in a little bit,
he's got a whole movie.
Kind of sets him right. It sets him on. We are pretty much close to where he needs to be. There'll be a little tweaking to him to get to where he exactly is in Rogue One. That's going to be part of the time jump thing, I think, honestly. So we got that. A little bit of Bail, dark a little bit coming to Yavin at that point. A bit of Bail, like this way. Saw's going to get a little more crazy, a little more huffing probably. But I think the biggest question to answer at this point is really, because Luthen disappears at the end and goes back to the thing. Like, so where does he fit in now? Everybody else kind of got their place. Right. Everybody else kind of got their place. All right. You know what I mean? Like, Bail's coming to Yavin. Mon's at Yavin. Saw is huffing and crazy and probably going to make it to Jedha at some point soon.
You just came up with my Force Vision. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyway, so there we go with that. So that's what I think we're going to get that out of it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little maybe more backstory on Luthen. Maybe we never get anything either. That's totally fine too. I mean, in a way that might be better too. I don't know. I'll have to see. I trust.
I thought he bit the blaster bolt in episode 9 when I saw that foot. When I saw that leg, I was like, oh.
I did too. I was like, oh. That was definitely a red herring. It was definitely, you were supposed to think that.
Because he goes, is he back there?
Yeah, and Clea was like looking like sad almost in a way, like she was like affected by it kind of thing, more than you would think she would be for like Willman, maybe, but who knows. But yeah, anyway, regardless of that, I think that is I agree with you. I think it's be interesting to see what we do with Luthen as far as that goes, and the Force, Andor being your character. I get that completely. It was on my list. I didn't want to highlight them specifically. I mean, the one I'm going to throw out there, I've already talked about, is Mon Mothma because of that. But I want to, you know what? I will still actually expand on that a little bit because it wasn't just the speech. It was the aftermath. How powerful was her performance after the speech when she was on the roll, even before the speech with Luthen, and after the speech, her absolute abject terror, being frightened of Luthen. And I love that. Like, I'm more scared of you than anything right now. And she brought up Tay Coleman. I was like, wow, you really got to, it's true. Because like You think about it, it's like, am I take Holman now? Am I the one that's expediently going to be cut off because of I can't trust you? You're telling me I can't trust Bale. I can't trust you. I can't trust Erskine. Who the hell can I trust? She is so alone right now. That's why I actually thought Perrin wasn't going to play because like she had absolutely no
character of the fucking week.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. And she said, like, because she has no one. Cassian fills that spot luckily and has a great moment with her when Andor and her, like when he spills his guts. I loved that moment when he basically just, I'm not, fuck the codes. I know your cousin. We're the last people on Aldani. I live on Yavin, telling everything so she'll trust him. And she does, and it's great. But her performance of being abject terror when she watches him like kill, like when he killed Cloris, her face like that, it was legitimately like terrified and everything. And it was such a brilliant performance though. And then it came down and she has a moment at the end in the safe house, I don't know how to thank you. And masterclass, Genevieve, thank you for taking a deleted character from Revenge of the Sith. And
has there ever been a character like that who like has just been a character that was meant to be deleted is now a fucking icon?
One of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. Honestly, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars now. Quite frankly, I love it so much. So, to your point, I'll throw it out there. Let's talk about him. Erskine was definitely on my list as well. Erskine character from Rebels, by the way, that Tony put in there. Speaking of continuity junkies, first started Rebels in that bit. What a real one he is, and what a great performance. Not a lot to do, but when he had stuff to do, it was key and it was well done. One of my other favorite lines of dialogue this week, and I'll say it now, even though that's our next category. It was an honor when Mon Mothma finds out that he's been working for Luthen since the wedding. She is betrayed and she dismisses him because she's kind of like, she's at a state at this point. She doesn't know who to trust. She fires him, and his reaction is just, it was an honor. And he's heartbroken about it, and he still helps her out throughout the rest of the episode. And
I think that's how she knew to go with Cassian, because she saw Erskine still there, and she was like, "Oh, you're working with Luthen. I dismissed you. You're still here.
Right.
I've got to go with this guy."
Right. And his moment of, he's a rebel spy. She's a rebel spy.
Brilliant.
Oh, awesome. Erskine, you are the man, the myth, the legend. And I'm so happy you got to make it on with Rebels and everything else. So
I will say that woman that they cast to play the traitor, like I knew from the off that she just like oozes Imperial.
She looked bad.
And I will say, I don't know if it was intentional by the writers of Tony and Dan, but like, to hang up and go, "Oh, that was work. You got two jobs?"
Right.
What work are you talking about here?
Well, I guess technically you could have two jobs. If Bale's team was just somebody they're doing something for the Resistance, they're doing something for the Rebellion, and they had real jobs on the side, I could see that. Maybe
say that was work. You're at work now.
Are you? Maybe you don't know that. Maybe she's a painter. Maybe she's a gallery owner.
Right.
She's dressed up in a uniform. That's all. So you don't even know necessarily. But I get your point though. I will actually say she reminded me a lot of Katie. God, I'm her last name. O'Brien. Katie O'Brien.
Katie O'Brien, yeah.
Who was the Mandalorian. I felt similar. I almost felt like I don't think timelines didn't quite match up, but that would have been an interesting role if she would have played that, but not die.
Maybe it's Emma.
Maybe. But yeah, it was well done. It was well done for sure. All right. Any other characters? Okay, I do. I have two more characters I got to highlight. So I don't know if you want to throw anybody out there. You want to throw out highlight?
Willman. He's just like me, for real. Like, falls in love with every pretty woman that he meets.
On the drop of a hat, been there for a day and you're in love.
At the drop of a hat, like any pretty girl, he's like, "I'll die for you. I'll fight in a war for you. Like, I won't leave you behind."
Yes, I met you 26 hours ago, but I'm going to die for you now.
Yep. Brother, I fully agreed. I'm on Willman's side with that. Rylands, fucking real one. Another real one.
I love Ryan. By the way, that's who Ed Harris would have played.
Oh, I'm calling him New Brasso because I can't remember his name. But the one Gorman guy who was the reason Cinta got shot.
Oh yeah.
And he came in. They were in the meeting where they were all getting ready to go to the Plaza Square, and he was just like, "No, we are the Gore." And then he put his arm around the guy and he starts
Listen,
singing. He started
yes.
singing because he knew, he was like, "Look, they want us to react this way. They want us to fight. Let me calm everyone
Lazine.
down." Lazine, that's him.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
And he was
What a
just,
real
he
one.
pacified everyone. Everyone started singing along.
Yep.
And it was like,
It calmed everybody
hey,
down.
that's fucking genius, because you're showing this as a peaceful protest. And you're just saying, like, hey, remember who we are. We are the Gore.
Right.
They can do whatever they want. They can't take that away from us. So shout
He
out to
also,
Lazine.
I mean, he also had like one of the best like moments in there. Like he's like, we are not the Gore. He stopped the argument in the beginning of the episode 7. He's like, I don't care what you're doing. Like we gotta remember who we are. Don't lose ourselves in this. And it was like, oh wow, man, he was, a real one. I loved that character. What a great choice for you. Okay, I got 2 other characters, but one I'm going to mention first. I'm actually surprised you didn't say this one actually, but his name is Thala, the bellhop.
Oh, dude.
What a real one.
Legend.
What a real one.
You know the way.
You know it. And he gets the line. Rebellions are built on hope. And that's a potential pitfall. That when you call back a line like that, it can
No, fuck
cheesy.
that. I fist pumped. I fist pumped so hard.
I'm saying it can be cheesy. It can be like it's a dangerous thing to do. But man, was it perfect. Man, and I fist pumped. It was an absolutely perfect thing. Now Andor remembers that later on and says that later on in Rogue One. And it's like, and that then Jin uses it later on. It's such a great little. This guy is a spark that starts the rebellion in a way to a degree. Partially,
again, it's like we talked about last week. Like these little people that, in the grand scheme of things, are probably never going to be remembered. Probably don't, show up on any blip of any radar, map, story, whatever. But when Cassian walked down and said, "I probably won't be coming back," he goes, "You were never here. I never logged you in." Because Cassian took the time to listen to his story.
In my headcanon, I know some people don't agree. I think he survived. He threw that bomb. He threw that bomb to the door and like exploded out, and it hit the stormtroopers. He was behind the desk. In my headcanon, he survived. Maybe I wanted to. I wanted to survive so bad.
I would have. He might end up being, because Andy Serkis said that we're supposed to see Kino Loy.
Yeah, I would have.
We haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he's going to come back somehow. Maybe I wonder if he got cut or if he's in the last arc. I don't know either way.
He might be the Kino Loy of season 2.
He might be.
The spark, the one that sparks it in Cassian to come back.
I love it. So good, so good. Okay, the last one I'm going to highlight is someone that I've kind of pushed back on a little bit sometimes, but she's a little sidelined, but a little sidelined in the episode, in this arc, in some ways, but in other ways, she was like the most important part of the arc. That's Bix.
Oh, dude.
That's Bix. Obviously, she saw no action this week. This was not. She was basically hanging out on Yavin with her tea and her coffee and all that stuff. But she was so involved throughout. And then her bit at the end, I called it like right. So Andor after everything went down, Andor gets back to Yavin. Andor goes to Bix and telling about how he's done. And they're going to leave and everything else. She's like not responding. And he's like, "Why aren't you saying anything?" "I'm just listening. I call her up like, I just went, "She's leaving. She's going to leave. She's going to leave."
Do you remember I said it was either last week or the week before, what if we get an epilogue where Bix finds out that Cassian's died and she lives on?
I hope the epilogue is, I hope we don't see that epilogue like that. I hope the epilogue is we jump back to Bix and after Endor or something, living on, like knowing now that Cassian is gone and everything else, whatever. But I am so happy that I don't think it's. I mean, again,
there's still got 3 episodes left.
I'm happy that it doesn't appear like she's going to die now. Like it was so long ago that she had to die. Heartbreak. I get that, but I almost feel like she's not going to now, because I feel like it'd be worthless for him to I think it'd be worthless for her to have left and to choose to leave than to come back and like then die. I think we're gonna see. I honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see her again.
I know, I fully agree with you, and I see a lot of people saying that, oh, she made a selfish decision, she made a rash decision. I'm like, you have never experienced the heartbreak of having to let go of someone that you love more than anything else in this world for a reason that you know is right. It is the most heartbreaking fucking decision that you can make, but it is the right decision to
And
make.
how Star Wars is that? Yoda
Learn to let go of what you're afraid to lose.
Like, holy shit. So powerful, so beautiful. It is the opposite of a selfish decision. It is a selfless decision. Selfless decision where she actually chooses the rebellion over her own happiness. She wants to be with Cassian. She
says,
that,
I
right?
choose the rebellion.
I choose I'm making the choice for both of us. I'm choosing the rebellion so that everyone can have what we want to have. And it's such a powerful statement by her. And the whole thing was, it was heartbreaking. It was sad. Even as I called it, I was watching. I called it like 2 minutes before it. I'm like, not saying I'm predicting anything. I'm not a great predictor, but like as I was seeing it happen, like, oh my God, it's going to happen. And it was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is so well done.
And Brandon Roberts' score in that moment.
The whole freaking arc, the whole freaking season. I was really nervous about going away from Nicholas Patel because he did such a great job in season 1. He has done an exemplary job and has definitely taken up the torch and ran with it so well, so good.
But yeah, and I get the people that are saying that they wish that Bix like had more to do.
Yeah, I get that. It definitely was a little sidelines, a little bit Padme-ish in a way, but she had that moment that kind of made up for it.
But again, I disagree. What she has done here, Cassian is going to be fucking unstoppable now. Because now, what has he got to lose? She's turned that spark into the fire.
Right.
Now he's going to be fucking unstoppable.
Absolutely. I mean, she is the key. She absolutely is the key for him at this point. That without her, he's able to concentrate and make his heartfelt moment be felt. And it's a brilliant thing to do. It's absolutely brilliant. And that's why
now he's got K2 as well. And I completely missed my point earlier about why I preferred this version of the K2 meeting. This is a guy who grew up with a droid companion. Essentially, his best friend his entire life was a droid who is now no longer there. This is a man who fights this very reason for fighting this fight is to protect the people that he loves, to protect his companions. And now he's got another droid. He's got another droid companion that we see how close they get.
He replaces one wife with another.
Yeah, pretty much. Replaces his real wife with his work wife.
I love it. I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
So yeah, I fully agree with you that Bix was the most important. She did the most important thing for Cassian Journey.
Yeah, absolutely. If I have to criticize anything, which I'm going to be critical about that. I do think that Vel was very underutilized, and hopefully she gets something a little more next arc. She kind of came in, was just like the side, like, oh, I'm going to be the sounding board for Bix a little bit, and she did, and it was like the not so great cameo moment, like the way they shoved it. Oh, Melchi's here now. Oh, here's Melchi.
I love that. I love that.
It's fine. It was fine. It was just definitely much more of the winking nod cameo type moment, even though it wasn't winking nod cameo. It had that kind of like, we're going to shove this in here real quickly. Like,
he's going to be in the next arc.
I think so too. And I think that's fine. And I don't mind it. I'm not saying I mind it necessarily.
That seems to be Tony's formula. Like, he'll drip the character in the first bit, and then he'll bring them in the
like, there's a way like he does it. Like, he's behind the person. He's like, he's like, okay. If I had, like I said, complete nitpick, but like it is like what it is. What it is.
I did think it was cool though because she picked up the Morlana blaster.
Right. Oh no.
She's like seeing that, like she would have thought of Bix.
Yeah. Of Cinta.
Of Cinta. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
Cinta.
No, and I get that.
Now she's like, yo, me.
Yeah. And it's cool overall. I just a little bit. It took me out of the moment a little bit. Like instead of being involved in the story, kind of like that was like, oh, here's this character.
That's different though. That's not for some a moment where it's a speech about genocide and how
No, I get that.
the whole world is falling apart. That's just like it's like, oh, it's that guy.
Took me out of it. I did love the introduction of Draven to this episode. That was really well done. That was the way I liked
it as well, though.
I did too. I wonder if they didn't want to get the actor and like recast it a third time. Maybe we'll get him next time too, though. You never know. Could be another thing too. That felt more like that. I wish we got Melchi that way. Like it just kind of like seemed like he's there. We see him doing his thing, and the fun part is going, oh look who it is, instead of the oh wink wink nod nod. You know this guy. The way they introduced him. That's all like a little again nitpick thing. But all right, let's move on to our next category. I spec favorite line of dialogue. You already know my big one. I have other ones I can use. Actually, I named at least 3 that were on my list. So go ahead, Matty. Pick another one that I haven't done.
I did 1 for each episode.
Okay.
My episode 7. Maybe you're the place he needs to be.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes.
Because that's when Bix comes to the realization of I'm the key. I'm what's holding him back.
Yes, I'm going to put a pin in that as well because there's something later on I want to talk about that.
My episode 8. If you believe in truth, if you have any faith left in truth, please mark the message and pass it forward. They had no chance.
No.
There was, for someone like me who's very logic, fact driven, for how the Empire bought the media. You saw all the media throughout that entire that made me viscerally angry, the way they were saying our imperial heroes, these violent insurrectionists. I was just like, I fucking hope that you got caught up in the crossfire and you got shot. And
can I throw out there during that, like, you get upset about the imperial hero, but at the same time, I feel like those young troopers, I actually had some empathy for them, even though they committed atrocity. The empathy of them is they were untrained, they weren't prepared, they were thrust in the situation, they were shot at by the empire, and so they're almost not to the same level, but they're a victim of the empire as well. Not nearly the same level, and they committed atrocities. They could have refused orders, absolutely, but it's hard for me to like.
They enlisted.
A 19-year-old enlisted, but everybody, some people enlist to say because they buy into the thing. They don't know what's going on. Some people don't understand that. They haven't. I'm not saying like it's like the same level. Like obviously the Gorman people themselves deserve far more sympathy, but like I do feel like for it not and like there's the levels, right? There's the Palpatines. There's like the Captain Kaido guy. There's the Deaders.
That guy I fucking hated. That smart, smiling little fucking prick.
There's the Deaders, who I don't have sympathy for, but I do. It's hard to explain. Like watching her break down at the end, I kind of was like, "Wow, okay, it's a great moment. Still a
great moment,
but character,
great performance, but fuck you."
Right? No sympathy. No sympathy. No sympathy. Cyril, I had like a 1% sympathy for at one point. But I even 2% sympathy for. A little low percent. I had a low percentage, but there was a little more sympathy than, like, say, the Dedras and the Kaidos and the I'm talking about levels right now. There is the leader of the old man leader who was under a Kaido, who was basically telling me that you guys are untrained. What are we doing? I don't get this.
Old men for council, young men for war.
Right, and he was like, he was sent out. And he did his thing. He's the one who said open fire. So I can't completely sympathize with him. But he was, again, I still think he was a little bit of a victim of the Empire, too, thrust into that situation. But the kids, like, they're 18-year-old kids, or 18, 20-year-old kids that are thrust in the situation and made, like, pretty much forced the situation. Yes, they could have thrown their weapons down. Yes, they made horrible choices. But I can't say I don't have some sympathy for them as well.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
That's fair. No, I'm not going to invalidate your thoughts or your feelings on the matter.
The press, though, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them.
Although, where are they getting their source from? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a thing. It's like kind of like their investigative thing. Sometimes it's kind of like, are they knowingly lying? Are they knowingly lying, or
Probably.
are they being fed false information?
Imperial News was the name of the channel.
100%. And again, I just can't make judgment on them as the individual character because I don't know what the story is.
That one. Go on.
I was like, if it's someone who is being lied to themselves, and they're just reporting what they're being told, then I don't like. Again, you're a cog, and so you have some responsibility for it. At the same time, like if you're just being presented with something, this is the news. This is, Imperials are saying this. This is what I'm saying, and this is what they're present. This is what's being presented as the truth, and they're just like saying what they're being presented. I would have more sympathy for that than someone who's actually like being like agitated and like I need to get hit, I need to get clicks, I need to get views. I'm gonna really fire this up. Depends. You know what I mean? It all depends who it is.
I mean, like the one dude, what's his name? That was like the fucking Ben Shapiro of the
Yeah.
Empire. The one that like 80 Khan was watching on the TV. Like you just watched a massacre happen.
Right.
You were right there. You watched it happen. And yet you are saying how unfortunate it was that the Imperials died.
Right.
Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you. And fuck Edie too, crying for her. Nah. Fuck that. Fuck Edie. Fuck
Edie. I can't say fuck Edie. I can't say fuck Edie.
Right. I take back fuck
Edie.
Edie's been the comic relief for this entire show, so I'm gonna let her slide.
She's not a great parent, but she's just not like
she's terrible.
She's a terrible parent, but like she's not. I don't even think she's necessarily a bad person. She just is not. She's not aware.
No parent should have to bury their child.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel for her on that level.
100%.
On the other level, fuck you.
All right, fair enough.
Did I go? Episode 9.
Yes, go ahead.
When it's done and we've won, we can do all the things we ever wanted. I'll find you. I cried my fucking eyes out because she's not gonna find him.
Nope, not gonna find him.
Then Cassian, just like I said 2 weeks ago, Cassian's never gonna come home.
Nope.
Cassian's never gonna have her. Cassian's never gonna.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fucking tragic.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna see her again. I think that's the last they saw of each other. I think so. In this case, I would be shocked if they saw each other next week. I would be shocked. But
go ahead before I start.
Okay, I got a couple lines that I'll throw out there. I know his favorite line of dialogue, but fuck it, there's so many great lines. I'm gonna throw them out there as well. Cheesy one, but all fist pumpy. Cassian, welcome to the rebellion.
That was cool. No, that was cool.
I don't know if I can do this. Rebellion, right? Mon, another Mon line, which I think is underrated. I haven't seen anybody say it yet, but the way she delivered it, when Bail tells in the beginning of episode 9, Bail is like, don't turn on the Imperial News. It's like, I see it's terrible. He's like, the winners write the story. They haven't won yet. I know it's a little bit like delusional, but also made you go, that's the fire of the rebellion leader at that point.
The winners write the story. Fucking got me, man.
I know.
Oh, true.
But that's what she's like, they haven't won yet. It's that fiery moment of like, I am going to do something about this. Whatever I can do. It might not be much, but it does end up meaning like the act is actually pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but it actually ends up being a spark of fire for the rebellion, and I loved it. But Clea, by the way, I read this article with her, an interview with her, like that 2 other actresses were supposed to play this role at some point. They both dropped out for having bigger roles elsewhere, and Clea was like they put her up against her, and she has had no experience. She has done nothing before. Supposedly, she's just out of like, I guess, just got college class-wise and everything else, or whatever. And then they put her up because Stellan Skarsgård was impressed with her, like because she went toe to toe with Stellan, like without giving him an inch or whatever kind of thing. He said, "Let's put." And then, oh my god, her deliveries in some of in this episode, I love that fact. I'm done. Whatever. And guy's like, I'm done. Oh, let me guess. You're tired. It's too much. You can't do it anymore. The senator that you were there, the Gorman massacre. Like I would think that would spur you. I would think that would make you more. I didn't write that specific line down, but that's part of it. And it leads into the senator's about to put a face to the name of the atrocity you just witnessed. Tell her you're tired. And I'm like,
and then Cassian said, I want to make my own decisions. And then she turns around and says, I thought that's what we were
Fighting
fighting for.
for. That was I had both those lines in this, but the two for those who's tell her you're tired was dripping with such like biting, like I don't give a fuck if you're tired. Tell her you're tired.
Those two people that dropped out of the role.
Thank you.
Thank you. But also, boy, are you fucking stupid.
That was so good though. Yeah, I thought what we were fighting for. So perfectly delivered, so well done.
What role is bigger than being in a fucking Star Wars movie?
I mean, her roles are small in a Star Wars movie. She had maybe had the leading role somewhere else.
Still in Star Wars though.
I get it.
That bag is probably way more than whatever indie film that whoever they went off, whoever they were, they don't even matter at this point.
I get it. The last one I'll say, I have not seen anybody mention this. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm amused by it. I think it's a Star Wars connection. I think it was intentional. It might have been unintentional. You got the Imperial Luke Skywalker moment. He starts talking to the sniper. 0 to 5. 5 online standing by. Was that a callback? I don't know. It might have been. Like it feels like it was. It feels like it was a callback, like in a way, like it kind of like here we're still in Star Wars.
I could see where you would pull that because you're a diehard fan,
right? Like,
I think you're reaching a little bit,
maybe, but they chose 5 for a reason. Maybe like there's like it could have been any other number. He said 5 online standing by. I'm like, okay, maybe. I think it might have been kind of one of those clever ways to do a callback without being like not the.
But the number they also used for the call from Gorman was Palmer 1.
Right.
Rogue 1.
Right.
So you could also pull that. So you may have a point.
But
you may have a point, is what I'm saying. You may be.
Yeah. I just started out there. You know what? I didn't even write down.
You may have a point.
I didn't even write it down, but we actually, speaking callbacks, we get Ryland saying it's a trap.
You did put it in somewhere.
They did. Like I'm kind of like, are they doing that on purpose or is that or not? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me catching this.
I think that might have been the director. I think Tony was probably like, oh, fine, do it, whatever.
I gotta highlight that, by the way. I should have put him in my character as well. Ryland, what a performance he put on those shows. Ryland.
I mentioned him.
You did. That's right. You did. I wanted to talk about him. I didn't. I wanted to put him in my list. I didn't put him in my list.
Sorry, go on.
I was saying I didn't put him in my list. That's what I meant. Like I didn't have. I got really like when you mentioned him now. I'm like he's. But that would have been what Ed Harris would play. That was my. If I was gonna do. If I was playing that game.
For him to like have that like face off with Cyril, and then Cyril throw him to the ground, and then he's the one that fucking domes Cyril.
I almost forgot. I've got thrown out there. Who are you? That line by Cassian.
Put a pin in that.
Okay.
Put a pin in it.
Okay.
Please, for the love of God, put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. All right. Let's move on then to our put that in your holocron and Snoke it. Explore more lore. What do you want to know about more things that were talked about in this episode or this arc rather? And what
this is going to be a first for Holy Snokes. I got everything I needed.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Like,
all right. You nothing more you want to explore? Okay, interesting.
Nope. In these 3.
Not even anything took place between the arcs or anything? Nothing?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
Then I will go. I have my.
Wait, it happens over this span of 2 days.
I'm talking about you want to know about what happened in between the last arc and this arc?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I got one. Force healers. I was very, very happy.
Is comedy our next category?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Go for it because that's gonna lead.
Well, it can be. It can be a category if you want it to be. I can make.
Yeah, because mine's gonna lead it.
Because I love the fact that we have not had the Force at all throughout all of the series. And Rogue One had a little bit with that, but he would cheer it and things like that, and cheer and bays, and I'm one of the Force with me. But we pretty much were almost like anti-Force in us. So it was nice to have a reminder that the Force does exist in this galaxy. This is not, they're not shying away from that. It does exist. I've always and I pitched on many episodes of this podcast, or some of the lore I wanted to explore is who are those like Force users out there that were not picked up by the Jedi, or during Imperial times were not hunted down necessarily, like, but were just kind of making their way in the world today with everything they got, and cheers. But like, so they had they had the Force, that they could touch the Force or use the Force in this case. And Force healing is one of those. And I love the fact that they talk about these characters. I want to know more. And I want to connect it to Marva hated one. And does Marva hate Barriss Offee? Just a thought. Just a thought. Just a connectivity thought.
Why Barriss Offee?
Because Barriss kind of became like a Force kind of person at the end there. Like, did they have a connection at some point? Did they actually cross paths?
Okay.
I think that'd be kind of tricky to say.
Well,
but anyway,
this leads perfectly into my
laugh it up
comedy.
Fuzzball.
My laugh.
All right, that's our next segment. We'll laugh it up, Fuzzball. Our favorite comic moments of the week. Oh my God, there were barely any. But go ahead, man, because I have one, and it's not going to be the same one you have. I think. But go ahead.
As someone who has spent their childhood around gypsies and gypsy women,
okay,
to hear Cassian be like, Marva hated Force healers. There was one Force healer. That was one Force healer too many. Just reminded me of like, this crazy old gypsy woman. It's like non-conventional medicines and healing techniques. Essentially, the Mr. Miyagi was. That's essentially what she was. So what she did was the Mr. Miyagi rubbed the two hands together, put it on the wound, and go wuss.
Pretty much.
It called back to that childhood memory of just like crazy old gypsy ladies that were like, take this and your headache will go away. Take this and you'll feel better tomorrow. And it never working. It never worked. You have a cough, drink this, and make you feel worse. In that moment, I related to Cassian at that point, and I thought that was pretty funny. I got a giggle out of that.
Fair enough. I will say I had one. I put it in my favorite line. I could have put in my line of dialogue, but I saved it because it was the only time I really kind of laughed. Actually, there's two little small moments. Both of them were lines of dialogue. The first one I'll use is Partagaz. And that just says, you seem animated.
And what was the other one? Let the wave of professionalism calm you, or something like that. I was just like, bro.
That was so good. So Partagaz, I need him in everything. I hope we get to see more of him next episode or next arc. I really hope so.
I hope he dies. It's time.
Let's get rid of him. No. I loved him. I could use. I want him to like. I want him to say like I want to just give him a script and have it change it to Partagazese for every line of dialogue. It's just the way he says everything. It's so eloquent.
You know what we do need? You know what book we do need?
What?
We need a Partagazisms book.
Yes.
Just a book of
on that book of Partagazisms.
Basic English Partagaz underneath it. Like, calm down, calibrate your enthusiasm.
The translation. Yeah, the Partagaz translations. For the common man.
You know how you had like the Chuck Norris book back in the day of like Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the world down.
Right.
Just like the Partagazisms.
I love it. The other line of dialogue I had that actually did make me chuckle and I needed it at that moment.
Oh, you doing line of dialogue?
No, we are.
Okay.
This is what made me chuckle. I could have put this in a line of dialogue, but it was funny. Cool. I put in my comment. Do you have another comic moment?
I've got one for each episode, but
you do? Oh, no, go ahead. Please. I only have one other one to do. Go ahead.
I told you to put a pin in it because, boy, did this make me fucking giggle. Cyril, who are you? His entire life, he's had this delusion of grandeur that what he is doing is helping the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, with Dedra, he realized everything that he was just a pawn. He was just a puppy. He was worth nothing. Everything that he had been doing there, he'd been set up. He was like, I'm getting these promotions. Yes, I'm making my way up the ladder. This is going to be great. I'm going to be by the Emperor's. No, you're not. You weren't there to do shit. You were a fucking nobody. And then for Cassian just to turn around and say, Who are you? and just enough for him to lower the blaster. I genuinely think in that moment he was having an existential crisis of,
Oh yeah.
who am I? What have I done? And then, sorry, pal, too late.
Right.
Boy, did I fucking fist pump the sky, laughing my ass off like, fuck you. Great performance. Kyle Soller acts. I'm going to be following Kyle Soller's career
with great interest.
With great interest after this. I mean, I've met the guy. He seems like a wonderful dude. I met him at London Film and Comic Con a couple years ago, I think, in fact.
Right.
Great. Seems like a great person. Great actor. As for the role, much like Dedra, great performance, but fuck you. That moment where he was just the calmest look on his face, where Cassian goes, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't even remember." Like everything has built up to that confrontation with Cassian. His entire life has built up to that conversation, and the guy doesn't even remember you.
Well, that's the great thing about it, because like he's having this whole crisis throughout, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'll go back to that. I'm going to fast forward to this part first. He sees Cassian. There's this moment where there's this question throughout, like, is Cyril going to try to help?
I thought he was.
Try? A lot of people did. I kind of was like, who is he going to try? Because he had that moment where you realize the whole. Actually, I'll just bring the whole thing through. I'll have a whole discussion on it. Beginning the episode, he like gets not harassed, but he gets like confronted by Rylance. And he's still trying to kind of toe the Imperial line. He's like, it's a rumor. We don't know what's going on. He's like, you're mad. He gets mad. He walks through his way, goes and confronts Dedra. And oh my God, that moment when he tries to choke her out. Like, I was like, holy shit, holy cow. But he's had enough, and he's seen that he is a patsy, and he's like, this is a guy. And this is why I guess I had like that 2% sympathy for at some point. So kind of like, this is a guy whose entire life was based on, he started this whole thing because 2 of his coworkers were killed. Like, he just believed in law and order.
And he believed in law and order and following the rules.
And was he too much of a stickler for them? So, absolutely. He had the best of intentions, especially at first. Like, he really did have good intentions with the whole thing. His intentions were like, this is wrong. People were killed. Justice has to be done. And if we ignore that, we're sweeping this under the rug, then this is not how to live. These people died. I don't care who they were. These were officers who got killed. These are my not friends, but my coworkers who were killed. Who's going to speak up for them? We're not going to speak up for them. Who's going to speak up for them? And that led to this, and that led to this obsession with taking down Cassian Andor, who he blamed for the whole thing. And it led from point A to point Z, where then he's like, he doesn't know what he did. He's like, I didn't realize this was the case, like what we're doing. And he realized that he was being a patsy even to Dedra and everything else. So it gets to that point where he's like, holy shit, I'm the baddie. I'm the bad guy. And he realizes it. He's like, I'm the bad guy the whole time. And he can't like completely wrap his head around it. And I think he would have done good. He would have tried to done something. I think he would have helped people out. And then he saw Cassian. Yep. And his rage, like,
it triggered him.
You started this whole thing. If it wasn't for you killing these 2 soldiers, I wouldn't have done all this terrible things. I wouldn't have become a terrible person. And
now he's trying to kill the woman that he loves.
Right? The woman that yeah, absolutely. And he's like, and it just triggered him, an explosion, and it became this thing where he just lashed out at something, which is again a bad thing about his character. He couldn't like process it, so he had to lash out at something, and Andor was his thing. What I loved about his end, and you're right, he gets that who are you moment. He's kind of like, I'm obsessed with you, and you don't even know who I am. I am nobody. He's so frightened of being nobody, and so frightened of being this nothing burger. And that cut so much deeper than Ryland's blaster bolt. Who are you hurt him more than the blaster bolt. Even the blaster bolt killed him, I know. But I love Cyril's ending because, and hear me out, this is, I think, I actually texted this to Ken. And Ken, I think Ken gave me he called it a 4-setter, well said. I loved that they gave him this absolutely horrifying moment of awareness. And they actually humanized him without forgiving or forgetting. Like, they humanized him. They didn't give him a redemptive arc. It almost would have been bad if they had no atonement, no redemption, but a moment of there is a good person somewhere in there that has, through some of his decisions and exterior forces as well been turned into this like monster. But he's like there, so we humanize him, and you kind of feel that just moment of fuck, man. But he made his choices, and he did it. They don't forget his choices. They don't forgive his choices. They humanize him, and that's such a more powerful thing to do. And then they kill him off almost unceremoniously. And it's like, wow, he is not even a footnote in history. He will not even be remembered by anybody except for Dedra if she lives. Like, that's such a great, insane writing. I know we're talking comic moments and your funny bits and moments. And it was a little funny in a way.
I thought it was hilarious.
But I wanted to throw in that I just want to talk about that story. It was a perfect time
same
to
with
talk about
with the Dedra moment where she was like, and starting to cry, because I do think that she did genuinely have feelings for Cyril, which is crazy, because especially if Cyril really did have a side piece with that Gorman front chick.
Maybe.
Hey, all I'm just saying, anytime I've told a woman I really needed to see you, it's been for one reason and one reason only. Men only want one thing, and it is what you think it is when a man says that. But yeah, and it was, I mean, yeah, we've talked on and about it, so I'll just go to my episode 9 comic moment. The moment you brought up earlier, Cassian wasting Loris, because the way that he really has learned from Luthen, because he just switches to that theatrical of Loris. He's like, tell me, who is that? Oh, that's my driver. Can he be trusted? No, he's an ISP plant. What's his name? Loris. Okay. Loris. Look, I found a bang.
Monmouth's actual response was terrifying and a little bit funny at the same time, too. I agree. I was like, oh, wow.
I laughed. Yeah. I laughed my ass off. Maybe it's just me watching and the Imperials get shot. God, it scratches an itch that.
You know what's funny about that?
I love.
You know what's funny about that? And I actually would give Tony Gilroy a lot of credit. And if it was any other show, I might say I'm looking too deeply into it. It's a tragic. I think it's actually a tragic moment, partially too. I honestly think the direction happening there. I think the speech affected the driver. And I think the driver, he was, they showed him listening to the speech.
Okay.
He was in the car and he's listening to the speech. And all of a sudden, that's when he got this thing. And he was told to stay in the car and wait for her. And then he left. And he was going to her. I think he was actually going to help her. I think he had turned a new leaf in a way. I honestly think he was affected. He's like, you know what? That's right. Fuck this. Fuck the Imperials. I'm going to get her out of here. I'm going to save her because she's actually a good person. I'm going to do this. And because even more tragic that Cassian does this. And it's right that Cassian does that.
I would have thought so if they'd have given him a moment like Cyril had, where the camera, it's just a one long camera shot, and in your head you can hear all around me a familiar.
Well, there is kind of that moment. There's a moment during the speech. If you watch the episode, there's a moment where it turns on him and he's listening to it. He's like, he's hearing the speech. It really felt like that. Rewatch the episode. You let me know. I really felt there's that moment, and like I might be looking into it, but I would not throw that past Tony as like, let's give this guy an extra tragic ending. Like he was turning a new leaf. He was going to go help her, and he still gets killed. Like powerful moment.
Like I said, I'm not gonna invalidate your thoughts or your feelings. I was just happy you got wasted.
That's fine. That's fine. I have. Oh, you have another one? I have one more.
No. I'm good to go.
One comic moment. Love it. Cassian and Luthen together. They have the moment where Cassian starts talking about things and like talking about different getting Mon to Yavin. He's like, "You're not going to Yavin." Like, I know I'm not going to Yavin. And Cassian says, "You've burned too many bridges already. Are you burned all your bridges?" You haven't burned all. You haven't burned all your bridges yet. Luthen just goes, "Yeah, we'll take care of that today, or we'll get there." Yeah, we'll get there.
I did have one more.
I was laughing my ass off. That was like this tense moment. I'm like, and they said like, Luthen.
It's just like, it's like, oh yeah, they'll hang us both, won't they? It's just like, no, no, we don't want that. It's almost like gallows humor.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. All right, let's wrap up with the.
I have one more. Sorry.
You have one more. Go ahead.
The locked door with the IT department.
Yes, fist bump moment there. Luthen's people or whatever.
Luthen 100% had them in place, but it was just
fails. Your Baylor Luthen. Who knew? Who knows?
I think it was Luthen because he's got everyone on the ground floor, like all his little sewer rats.
Oh,
as I
100%.
like to call them.
No,
But
really.
it was just the dude that looked like he was about to burst 5 blood vessels in his head. Then he was just like, "Oh yeah, we fixed it. It hasn't worked all year. Yeah, we fixed it.
No, you fixed it.
Where's
Why
the
don't we check the
security code?
protocol?
Yeah, where's the security code? In the security office."
Brought it there yesterday. I felt bad for that guy's job. The poor guy. Poor guy. He's just trying to do his job, and he's getting fucked over. And with the Lobot looking guy, I kind of think next time I like that too as well.
Lona.
Lona.
There's a lot because it's not Lobot. Anyway.
Right. Lona. Anyway. I like what to say there. I got that. So something else I want to touch on at this point goes adventure. I talk about the rest of the thing. One thing I didn't mention, I kind of meant to bring it up when you were talking about the Force healers and stuff. And you mentioned, I told you to put a pin in it when you're talking about Luthen and talking to Cassian about things. I love the fact that, again, it tied in the Force in a subtle way.
Yeah.
Cassian is a chosen one. There's the chosen one, Anakin Skywalker, but the cosmic Force uses the Force and uses vessels to get things done. And you never thought about that with Cassian. Cassian was just the rebel spy who ends up helping Jyn out, but you realize when the Force healer tells him stuff like the messenger, maybe you're the one he's supposed to be. Maybe that's what she's trying to figure out. All of a sudden, the Force touches people in different ways, and then Luthen lays it out later on. He's like I make my own choices. Do you? Aldani, Road, Mao, you've always been there when I needed you for something. Is that really like basically implying like, is that you? Is this the Force around you? Is the Force surrounding you getting it? Like, I don't want to take away Cassian's agency, but it's not, he does make that decision. I don't think the Force ever choose like to make someone do something, but I think the Force provides, and I think it's basically a way of saying they are more than just there's a chosen one, but he is not the chosen one, but he is a chosen one. In a way. I love that. Makes me feel happy. It makes me feel Star Warsy. It makes me feel like what a great way to connect with the Force and with the Star Wars universe that way.
And the way they leveled it as well with Luthen saying, "I've been thinking about this." So it's not like Luthen is certain. He's just like, "Hey, maybe like you should think about this."
Which is why, by the way, you joked. I joked about it, which is why I do have that feeling like maybe Luthen has had some Jedi affirmation at some point, whatever it is, like that.
I mean, he's got Jedi artifacts in his gallery, so
right.
I'm guessing he knows of the Force.
Right. I think there's a little bit to it. Maybe he worked with the Jedi. I don't know, something to that. But I love that aspect of it, and one of the most Star Warsian things in a way that I didn't think we would get in this show. I was like, that's. But it also doesn't hit you over the head with it. It doesn't make it like, this is a chosen one. But it's like that Force works in mysterious ways.
It doesn't break canon. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. Love it so much. All right, before you want to do Force Vision then, or do you want to do our parsecs? Oh, action! I skipped action to get to comedy. Let's do it. Seen a lot of action. Go ahead. Do you have something you want to talk about? Let's
Episode 7. Cassian using essentially his selfie stick to see the stormtroopers above him. I was like, that's very James Bond, Mission Impossible, of having the gun underneath the suitcase, having his little gadgets. I give Marvel a lot of criticisms, but they do genre really. They play about with genre pretty well.
Yes, they do.
Now Star Wars is starting to do it, and they're starting to PLD. You know me, I love a good spy, Mission Impossible style. Having the little stick, just be like, stormtroopers above me.
Absolutely.
Okay. His little eye telescope. I thought that was pretty cool. Just like all the gadgets and stuff that he had.
100%. 100%. Love it.
Episode 8, the brawl. I didn't know Cyril had hands like that.
Dude, that was savage. That was they live levels of like savage fighting. So visceral.
Yep. That was no other than Diego going full Roberto Duran, body, head. That was no style to it. That was just knock down, drag him out, brutal. I'm gonna fucking like when Cyril had like his as someone who has been poked in the eyes, like accidentally, that shit fucking hurt. So when Cyril was like ripping at his eyes, I was like, no,
Yeah.
and it's that was fuck. It was gnarly.
So
And like when he did the WWE chair shot when Cassian had his back turned,
yes.
and so he just hit him in the back with whatever that was. I was like, damn, like Cyril's really fucking going for it.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if I would love to see if it was Carl Sola and Diego actually doing that sequence.
They were doing most of it from what I heard. A little bit in Declassified, they showed a little bit of it.
I saw a little bit, but I don't know if like if it was like Diego was taking the wax.
Yeah, it's hard. It is a little hard to tell. I'll give you that for sure. But yeah, I kind of hope it was. I feel like it was. I feel like they wanted to do that. It feels like they got like together and finally got to really work together, and they both wanted to give it their all, and I think they did. And yeah, that was a great moment, though. Sure. How about episode 9 for you? I only did a couple random ones. I didn't do one per episode. So what's your episode 9?
Just the like, you could tell that it was Tony Gilroy because like 1 with the brawl, and 2 with the whole escape, which was my action moment of like the moment where they see the stormtroopers and Mon's like, forget the loading dock, and just turns around and runs. Very Born Identity, very Born Ultimatum.
It felt exactly like that to me too. I was like, oh, sweet. Okay. I got it.
I was like,
gotcha.
There's the Tony Gilroy.
I see you, Tony. I see you, Tony. Yeah, that was good. That was actually very good. Mine, I had the same cast for Cyril. That was another one. That was one of my favorite moments because of the late live style overall. The K2SO as the Terminator. The kicking of the barricade. Oh, hello there. Hello there.
They're picking up the woman and throwing her.
Death by toss.
Like, toss me.
Holy shit.
Like, she literally was dead before she hit the ground.
Right. And the one later on when he also like him and Willman together, and also the guy just going flying through the archway, and it's like,
I genuinely thought Willman was about to die.
I did too. I was like, oh my god, this is disaster waiting to happen.
And you haven't played the Jedi Fallen Order games.
I have not, but I've heard things like about it.
The Cage was a fucking nightmare to fight in those games.
That's I've heard, and that man, scary beast. I love it though. That was it. And other action one, I pulled a PLD, and I said that the Mon Mothma speech was my other action moment.
All right.
Because goddamn it, I felt like that.
There wasn't that much action in episode 9, to be fair, other than the escape. And
right.
So yeah, I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Okay, good.
It was a tense moment.
It was a tense action-filled moment for sure. Definitely something action happening there for sure.
It's kind of an action comedy moment that Cassian and Mon were essentially halfway out the door when the Imperial security got to her pod. I was just like, you fucking dolts.
Dolts. Done. Yeah.
They've already shot an ISB agent and are halfway out the door before you've reached the Senate pod. You fucking idiots.
You know what? I know we already talked about comic moments. There's one minor comic moment that I laughed at as well. After everything goes down, they're pretty much escaped at this point. And I forget the ISB guy's name. Whatever his name is, whatever. He's been telling the whole time, shut it down, shut the building down. All of a sudden he's got
that guy, yeah.
So, Colonel Yularen's on the line. He's like,
he's like shit.
I mean, it's like it was like the Andor way of saying, Lord Vader's on the line. Wants an update on the ship or update on the pursuit. It's the same type of thing, except for like Yularen's not going to force choke you, but he's that badass. You're like,
also the Cassian hitting the speaking of action moments, Cassian hitting the nos.
Yes.
He had his Dom Toretto moment.
What a great edit that was. Where like I read he flicked the switch just as it jumped to Cassian hit like a button going at the same time, like this great like click edit that like it was like we're like, oh sweet, that was good. Yeah, all of Cassian's and action beats, his shooting at people were great. The his shooting of of Young's agent or whatever. Great. Yeah, the whole massacre just was terrifying, and some great action moments there. Some great moments there for sure. Yeah, that's about it for that though. Okay. Let's go on then. Again, you can talk about, want to do Force Vision, or do you want to do Parsecs of the Week?
Let's save Parsecs because I think we both know where we're going to go with this.
Okay.
Force Vision. I have a minor one and a major one, the one that you helped me come to earlier.
Okay.
Calkite. I did some digging
as
to what Calkite is in the world of Star Wars.
You're not going to crack the planet, are you?
No.
You did some digging.
Very good. Very good. Calkite is a mineral that is used in mixing cement.
Okay.
I think the Calkite was a cover-up because they were mining for Kyber to use on the Death Star.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Calkite. Oh, this is absolutely doing that. 100%. I agree with you on that. 100% I agree with that.
Because what do they use to power the Death Star?
I mean, that's pretty much what they said during the first episode of the
energy program.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much laid it out for us right there. I think the Calkite is definitively Death Star related. Absolutely, the whole thing is leading to the Death Star.
I think Calkite's a cover up, because if they're going by what Calkite is in Legends, they just use that in mixing cement.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that was just like a cover up, because they'd be like, why are you looking for Kyber? Didn't the Jedi use that?
Gotcha. Maybe. That could be.
And my big one that you helped me come to.
Okay.
I think Saw's going to kill Luthen.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Because Saw hasn't got to that point yet where Mon Mothma calls him a villain.
Ooh.
He's a crazy motherfucker. But he hasn't got to that point where Mon Mothma is willing to call him a villain.
Oh.
And we go to Jeddah in the trailer, and we see Saw on Jeddah. We know Luthen's in hiding.
Right.
What if he's reached out to Saw to go into hiding, and Saw's the one that ends him?
Huh. Interesting. That's
and then Mon finds out and is like, "Oh, Saw killed Luthen.
Right. After Luthen helped
He's the enemy."
Right. Yeah. I don't. I think it's absolutely possible. I mean, because we haven't seen Saw since he huffed. He wasn't in Sark at all, was he? I don't think he was in Sark at all.
Nope.
Correct? All right.
We haven't seen him since he was huffing fumes.
I mean, so they could. I mean, they technically could get away without showing anything more, because it could say that Mon just heard about stuff he was doing over the past year, because of the year gaps and stuff. But if they do want to showcase it, then that's a good way to do it. Because what's interesting, and maybe this is one of those explore more lore I could have gotten more of in that year break, is we don't know how Wilman left Saw. Because last we saw, Wilman was huffing.
I think that.
And all of a sudden, next thing you know, he was back working with Luthen. So sometime in that year, something happened.
So let him go.
Yeah, or did he? Yeah, did he? I mean, we don't know. That's the funny thing about it. So, again, that seems like a comic book or something, or a book potentially. Potentially, I don't know.
I think Saw's going to be the one to do it.
Could be. I'm still holding course with. That it's going to. I'm still holding on to my initial thought. I preached it before. I'm going to say again. I think it's Cassian who takes out Luthen.
I mean, I love that.
I think that's the last step, and I think it's the last step to Luthen, like him committing fully. Like he's got everything else going. He'll blame him a little bit. He'll have a little bit blame him for Bix, a little bit. He'll blame him for other things, and then at the end of the day, it's going to be a situation where it's either the rebellion or Luthen. Luthen's going to be arrested or something like that, and because we haven't seen like Andor. It's funny. Have we seen Andor snipe anyone yet? Because he tried to snipe Dedra, didn't do it. He tries to snipe
Galen.
He tries to snipe Galen and doesn't snipe him. So we haven't seen anybody successfully snipe anyone.
How many fucking shots did he have at Dedra?
I thought it was still pretty well done, because it seems like it kind of happened quickly. Like a lot of times, the only time that it really felt like he had enough time was that last one before Stro got him. But he did say, what I did like about it is they shot back to him, and he was like, because she wasn't moving, so he didn't have to hurry at that point. And he's like, okay, she's not moving. I can take my breath. So that's what snipers do. You take that breath and then you fire. And he was doing the breath, and that's when Cyril went at him. So, but either way, wouldn't it be great if we actually see him actually snipe someone? And it has to be Luthen. Like Luthen's caught or something, and Luthen could betray the rebellion, and Luthen basically wants to be sniped. Almost maybe he even knows Andor is there and is like, kill me, kind of thing. He has making his ear.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. I think it could absolutely be the case. I'd love to see that. I'd absolutely love to see that. So, any other Force Vision that you want to throw out there?
No, you got one?
I think we're going to see more people in the final arc. I think we're going to get a couple more returnees from Rogue One. I don't think we're getting Palpatine. Palpatine would have been
one shot
in this episode.
All I need is one shot.
He would have been in this episode. Actually, there's a nitpick for you. I told Tyler this. Small nitpick I had. You almost can't have Palpatine in the Senate when Mon Mothma does a speech.
No, you would have fried her on the spot.
Right, it would have been not good. But they could have had Masameda. Just for continuity purposes. Like they have the alien there that's doing like the Oath Keeper thing, doing that thing, but like Moss should be running the Senate. Moss should be running the Senate at that point. I feel like it would have been good. It would have been nice connectivity if Moss was on watching, because he's also a helpless character anyway. So he's the one who you could see him being run over by Mon and by Bail and technicalities kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that would happen. And it would be a nice callback to the prequels and everything else. Personally, I would love to see Moss there.
Or Sly, just to bring it back to the first season where they're talking about Sly more being
absolutely. So, and my Fourth Vision also is we are seeing Perrin next week.
Yeah, getting tortured by Palpatine.
Nope. I think he's gonna get away. He's gonna be on Chandrilla. I think
Palpatine's gonna be like, "Give up your wife, or I'm gonna kill you," and he's gonna like kill him, and that would be the only thing that could
redeem him.
Make me feel not redeem him, like make me feel sympathy. Like, damn, that was a hell of a way to go.
Come on, he could be redeemed. He's not like unredeemable. Like
piece of shit. Fuck that guy.
So you're basically going against the teachings of Star Wars that some people can be redeemed.
Yes, because you can just have what is Cad Bane? Cad Bane's just a shitty person.
Perrin's not killing anybody. He's not. He makes some bad choices and he's selfish. He's not unredeemable.
He's a dick.
Not unredeemable.
I don't know. No. I'm standing on my morals. No.
You gotta give to people. Hey, just like, you ever watch Ted Lasso?
Yes.
I hope we all have the strength to give somebody the second chance they deserve.
You saying he's Nate?
I'm saying Farron could potentially be Nate, and right now you should be Beard going.
I still hated Nate at the end of that season, right? Just turncoat. He's a rat bastard.
And he came back. He came back to the light.
Should never have left.
You're right. He shouldn't have. No one's saying he should have left. He shouldn't have left. But you have to give people
Rupert was literally being the emperor as well, and with the black coat and like the office window.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that he actually speaking. He's like a serial. He had that like one humanizing moment in like the 8th episode, and then it was like, but he still is a piece of shit bastard and everything else. I love that aspect. I love seeing that. It makes it feel more real. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's close this son of a bitch out. We're over 2 hours already. I knew this was going to be the case. I'm glad we don't even talk about this week.
This is a good episode for us to go over.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have any news. That's all I can say. Thank God we did Tales of the Underworld and the news on Monday. All right. Projects. He's ranked things out of 11 here on PLD Projects. So, on a scale of 1 to 11, where do you rank these 3 episodes, my friend?
This is the first ever jackpot on PLD Projects. 11 across the board.
11's all the way across. All right.
Jackpot.
I gave episode 7 a 10.5 out of 11. I gave next 2 perfect 11s. I do feel bad. I feel bad. I feel bad. I'm maybe picking on a small child, but like that 7th episode was an absolute brilliant episode of television.
The only thing it did wrong was coming before.
Right, exactly. That's all it is. It's pretty much all it is. So yeah,
someone had to go first.
Right, someone had to go first. He was the opening act.
That Imperial guard that got shot in the head. Like someone had to go down first.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and getting our takes on Andor, one of the best seasons of television I've seen ever, and best episodes I've ever seen ever in television, not just Star Wars and television and all as a whole. Where can the folks find you, Matty?
You can find me curled up in the fetal position after watching the next arc of Andor, and you can find me on social media at Matty Morner. You can find my band Morner on all streaming platforms. PLD, I know your name's on the tin. Where can people find you?
Every week right now on Holy Snokes. We'll be back next week to cover the finale of Andor, the final movie set. And we're going to do Rogue One, a rewatch after that. I really can't wait to do that. When you brought that up initially, I got to say, I was like, do we really want to watch it twice in a month and have an episode dedicated to it? I'm really looking forward to rewatching it again.
Hey, don't thank me. Thank Diego. It was Diego's idea. I just stole it.
That's true.
And said, let's do it twice.
Let's do it twice.
You like it twice.
And yeah, so you can find me there. You can find me. I have all sorts of other podcasts. My sister channel, I do a Queen podcast called Crown and Jewels. Every week I do a new song on the catalog, going chronologically, every song in the Queen catalog and the solo catalog. I also do a show called Review on this channel, a review with Lego. We go on the V franchise. We're getting close to the end of the 2009 remake, thank God, before we move on to other more fun stuff. But it's the end of that series. It's not fun at this point. You also find me PJ Campbell every other week on 2 Middle-Aged Geeks on Film, unless you're on the Patreon, because the Patreon we are doing the other week is being dedicated to our Marvel rewatch, Patreon exclusive MCU rewatch. We're having a lot of fun with that. That'll come on the main channel sometime, probably in like December. We'll start in December. If you want to know it now, want to hear it now, you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/PLD Projects. And if you can't help us that way, you can't join us, Goodell, Brendan Buckingham, and our great crew of people, then you can help in other ways, like subscribe, comment, all that kind of good stuff. A lot of stuff coming up. And I should also mention next week's Class Action. We are a monthly podcast. That's this week, this Monday coming up. Maddie, me, and Richard R. Jarvie are going to take The Accountant, put it up against The Accountant 2 in 5 custom-made categories and see which one takes the day. And that should be a fun one. This one it's going to be a hard one because they're such different movies, even though they are in the same franchise. They're obviously a sequel to each other, but they're definitely different tones, different movies. It's be interesting to put them up against each other. I don't know who's going to win. I think they both.
I'm just going to tease that if we think that this one's hard, the one coming up after is going to be impossible.
Which we'll announce then. We'll announce then that maybe we'll announce that at the end of next week's episode, or the Class Actions episode. All right, that'll do it then, guys. We will see you next time here on Holy Snokes, and until next time, as always, may the Force be with you always.